arrived at the office at 6 every morning, 2 hours before anyone else. The fluorescent lights hummed as I fixed Marcus's spreadsheet errors and solved $50,000 problems before he even finished his first coffee. This was my routine for 3 years. While Marcus took credit for quarterly reports I'd written, I stayed quiet. While he presented solutions I'd developed to headquarters, I smiled and nodded. I was the invisible engine that kept our regional office running smoothly. Nobody saw me, but everyone felt the impact when things actually worked. I handled supply chain disasters, managed vendor relationships, and built custom systems that saved the company millions. Marcus called me his secret weapon. I thought that meant something. I thought eventually it would lead somewhere. I was so wrong about what that phrase actually meant. The Director of Operations position opened up in March. It had been vacant for 2 months, and everyone knew I was next in line. I'd been doing half the job already without the title or pay. Marcus pulled me aside after a meeting, his hand on my shoulder like we were old friends. "Lydia, this is your time. You've earned it. Just keep doing what you're doing, and the promotion is guaranteed." I started planning my future. A director's salary meant I could finally pay off my student loans. Maybe even buy a small house instead of renting that cramped apartment. I told my mother about it. She cried happy tears. Finally, someone sees how hard you work. I updated my resume not to leave, but to document everything I'd accomplished. I was so naive. I actually believed him. The announcement came on a Friday afternoon in the main conference room. Everyone from our department crammed inside, the energy buzzing with anticipation. Marcus stood at the front, wearing his expensive suit and that practiced smile. "I'm thrilled to announce our new Director of Operations, Tiffany Clark." The room went completely silent. Tiffany squealed from her seat, jumping up to hug Marcus. She'd been with the company for 8 months. I'd been there 3 years. My hands went numb. People turned to look at me, their faces showing pity and confusion. Marcus caught my eye and shrugged slightly as if to say, "What can you do?" I couldn't breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in. Everyone clapped politely, but the energy had changed. They knew this was wrong. They all knew. I waited until everyone left, then asked Marcus for a private word in his office. He was still riding high on whatever power trip this was. "Lydia, I know you're disappointed, but..." I cut him off. "Why?" He leaned back in his leather chair, that same condescending smile. "Look, you're an engine, Lydia. Engines stay under the hood where they do their best work. Tiffany is the paint job. She's polished. She presents well. Headquarters needs someone who looks the part." My stomach twisted. "Looks the part." He waved his hand dismissively. "Come on, you know what I mean. You're brilliant at the technical stuff, but Tiffany has the executive presence. You're better suited for the trenches." The trenches. Like I was some grunt worker instead of the person who'd saved his career a dozen times. I walked out before I said something I'd regret. But something inside me had broken. Or maybe it had finally woken up. That weekend I sat in my apartment and realized something crucial. I had been ghostwriting the company's success for years. Every major win Marcus celebrated, every innovation headquarters praised, every crisis averted. My fingerprints were all over it. But my name was nowhere. I'd been so focused on being a team player that I'd let myself disappear. On Monday morning, something in me had shifted. I looked at my overflowing task list and made a decision. I was done. Not done working, done carrying everyone else. Done fixing problems that weren't mine. Done making Marcus look competent. If I was just an engine meant to stay under the hood, then I'd start acting like one. Engines don't write reports. Engines don't manage client relationships. Engines don't do director-level work. They just keep the basic operations running. Nothing more. I started practicing what's called work to rule. I did exactly what my job description required, and absolutely nothing else. When Marcus's Friday projection report landed in my inbox with obvious math errors, I didn't touch it. When vendors called with urgent questions that Tiffany should have handled, I forwarded them to her voicemail. When the weekly supply chain meeting happened, I only spoke when directly asked a question. Marcus noticed quickly. "Lydia, why didn't you fix the numbers on my report?" I looked up from my screen calmly. "That's not in my job description, Marcus. I'm a logistics coordinator, not an analyst." His face reddened. "Since when do you care about job descriptions?" I smiled politely. "Since you reminded me I'm better suited for the trenches. I'm staying in my lane." He stormed off. Felt good. Better than good. It felt like I was finally respecting myself. 2 weeks into my new approach, I was searching for an old file in the shared drive when I stumbled across something that made my blood boil. There was a folder labeled HKFARTS Final that I'd never seen before. Opened it. Inside were dozens of documents, quarterly analyses, efficiency reports, system improvement proposals. All written by me. But every single one had been edited. My name was gone from the author line. In its place, prepared by Tiffany Clark, Director of Operations. Some of these reports were from before Tiffany even worked here. Marcus had been systematically erasing my contributions and building a false history of Tiffany's competence. I took screenshots of everything. The original files with my metadata, the doctored versions, the dates. I saved them to a personal drive. I didn't know what I'd do with this evidence yet, but I knew I'd need it. I started documenting everything. Every system override I performed. Every vendor relationship I managed. Every crisis I solved. I created a detailed manual of all the extra tasks I did that kept the office running smoothly. It was 100 pages long. 100 pages of work that nobody acknowledged because it happened behind the scenes. I documented passwords to critical systems that only I knew. Workarounds for software glitches that our IT department couldn't fix. The personal phone numbers of key suppliers who would only take my calls. I called it the Engine Manual. A comprehensive guide to everything that would break the moment I stopped doing it. It wasn't revenge yet. It was insurance. And preparation. Because I had a feeling that when this house of cards started falling, I'd need proof of exactly what I'd been holding up all along. The first major glitch came 3 weeks after Tiffany's promotion. A shipment worth $200,000 got stuck at customs because someone had used the wrong clearance code. The system locked the entire order. Normally I would have fixed it in 10 minutes. This time my phone rang at 7 in the morning. Marcus panicking. "Lydia, we have an emergency. The Anderson shipment is locked. I need you to override the system." I sipped my coffee slowly. "That requires director-level clearance, Marcus. I don't have access to those codes anymore." His voice went shrill. "What do you mean? You always handled this." I kept my tone pleasant. "Tiffany has the access now. She should be able to fix it. That's why she's the director." Silence on the other end. Then, "Can you at least walk her through it?" Smiled. "I'm not really qualified for training directors. I'm better suited for the trenches, remember." Hung up. The shipment was delayed 3 days. Cost the company $15,000 in penalties. The cracks started spreading fast. Tiffany missed the deadline for the monthly operations review. Then she submitted a vendor contract with the wrong terms, costing us a major discount. Marcus started looking stressed. He cornered me by the coffee machine one morning. "Lydia, I need you to mentor Tiffany. Just help her get up to speed." I poured creamer into my cup. "Mentor her. Marcus, I'm a logistics coordinator. She's a director. What could I possibly teach someone at her level?" His jaw clenched. "Don't be difficult. You know what I mean." I met his eyes. "I do know what you mean. You want me to do her job while she takes the credit and salary. But I'm too busy in the trenches with my actual workload." He tried another approach. "It would really help the team." Smiled. "Then maybe you should hire someone qualified for the director position instead of someone who just looks good in meetings." My LinkedIn profile had been dormant for months, but suddenly it lit up. A message appeared from someone named Reginald Foster, VP of Operations for the entire corporation. My heart hammered as I read it. Ms. Lydia, I hope this message finds you well. I'm reviewing our regional quarterly numbers and I've noticed some discrepancies in the reporting chain. The documentation doesn't match what I'm seeing in our automated systems. Would you be available for a discreet conversation? I'd prefer to keep this between us for now. I stared at the message for 10 minutes. Headquarters was noticing the gaps. They were noticing that things weren't adding up. Type back carefully. Mr. Foster, I'd be happy to discuss any concerns you have. I'm available at your convenience. His reply came in seconds. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. I'll call your personal number. Please don't mention this to your regional management. The real disaster hit on a Wednesday. Vanguard Retail, our biggest client worth $12 million annually, sent a furious email to Marcus. I saw it because I was still copied on the critical accounts list. We are prepared to terminate our contract effective immediately due to repeated failures in order fulfillment and communication. Our account manager, Ms. Clark, has been unresponsive to our concerns and has made several critical errors in our last 3 orders. This is unacceptable for a partnership of this size. Marcus called an emergency meeting. Tiffany sat there crying, claiming she'd been overwhelmed, and that nobody had properly trained her. Marcus looked at me. I looked right back at him, my face neutral. He couldn't ask me to fix it without admitting his golden girl was failing. But if he didn't fix it, his own job was on the line. The entire room could feel the tension. This was the crisis that would expose everything. Marcus waited until everyone left the meeting, then practically dragged me into his office. Lydia, I need you to fix the Vanguard account. Today. I sat down slowly. That's a director-level client relationship now. His desperation was showing. I'll give you a bonus. $10,000 if you can smooth this over. My eyebrows raised. That's generous. Can you put that offer in writing? He blinked. Writing? Why would I need to put it in writing? Shrugged. Because the last time you promised me something verbally, I ended up watching someone else get my promotion. I don't work on verbal promises anymore, Marcus. His face turned red. You're being ridiculous. This is about the team. I stood up. Then the team's director should handle it. That's what she's paid for. I walked out while he was still sputtering. My phone buzzed. A text from our receptionist. Marcus just threw his coffee mug at the wall. You okay? At exactly 8 p.m. that evening, my personal phone rang. Unknown number, but I knew who it was. This is Lydia. Reginald Foster's voice was deep and measured. Ms. Lydia, thank you for taking my call. I'll get straight to it. I've been reviewing our regional performance data, and something isn't adding up. Your director, Tiffany Clark, has been telling me that you're the reason for recent delays and quality issues. My grip tightened on the phone. Of course she was blaming me. What specifically did she say? He sighed. She's claiming you've been sabotaging her work because you were passed over for the promotion. But when I look at the system logs, I see a different story. I see someone who's been keeping that office running. So I'm asking you directly, what's really going on? Took a breath. This was the moment. Tell the truth or stay silent. Chose truth. Mr. Foster, I think the documentation will speak for itself. Would you like me to send you the original files? I didn't badmouth Marcus or Tiffany. I didn't have to. I simply compiled the evidence. The original reports with my name and timestamp as author. The edited versions with Tiffany's name. The system logs showing who actually performed critical tasks. The email chains proving I'd warned Marcus about issues that he'd ignored. I organized everything into a clear, professional folder and sent it to Reginald with a simple note. Per your request, here is the documentation you asked for. All files include original metadata for verification. His response came 20 minutes later. Please keep your schedule clear next week. I'm sending you a formal invitation to our Chicago headquarters for an emergency audit. You'll need to bring your documentation. And Ms. Lydia, thank you for your integrity. This company needs more people like you. I sat back in my chair, trembling slightly. This was really happening. Headquarters was investigating. And I was about to tell them everything. The invitation arrived via email the next morning. Official summons for Emergency Operations Audit, Chicago headquarters. Travel expenses covered. Duration 2 to 3 days. Confidential. Do not discuss with regional management. I printed it out and put it in my locked desk drawer. Marcus was in a particularly foul mood that day, snapping at everyone. Tiffany kept shooting me hostile looks across the office. They knew something was wrong but couldn't figure out what. At lunch, Tiffany cornered me in the break room. "I know you're trying to undermine me," she hissed. "But it won't work. Marcus and I have a solid relationship." I stirred my coffee calmly. "I haven't said anything about you to anyone, Tiffany. Maybe the problem is your actual performance, not my attitude." Her face flushed. "You're just jealous because you'll never be more than a coordinator." Smiled. "Maybe. I guess we'll see." She stormed out. 3 days until Chicago. Monday morning, Marcus strutted into the office with his rolling suitcase. He announced loudly that headquarters had requested his presence in Chicago for an important strategic meeting. He was practically glowing with self-importance. "Lydia, you'll be in charge while I'm gone. Try not to break anything." He laughed at his own joke. "Actually, you know what? When I get back, we might need to have a conversation about your future here. Your attitude lately has been problematic." Other people in the office looked uncomfortable. He was threatening me in front of everyone. "I'll keep the seat warm," I said neutrally. He grabbed his bag. "Good girl. Oh, and Tiffany's coming with me. She needs FaceTime with the executives." I watched them leave together, him talking animatedly while she laughed at something he said. They had no idea I'd be on the same flight, sitting 3 rows behind them. They had no idea what was waiting in Chicago. The audit began in a massive conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Chicago. Reginald was there along with the CEO, 2 lawyers, and the head of HR. I presented everything methodically. The stolen reports, the falsified authorship, the systematic crediting of my work to Tiffany. But then I revealed something I'd been keeping quiet. "There's one more thing you should know. The proprietary logistics software our region uses, the one that saved the company an estimated $3 million in efficiency gains. That's not company property." Reginald leaned forward. "What do you mean?" I pulled out documentation. "I built it on my own time using my own equipment. It's an Excel-based macro system that I developed over 2 years. I never formally licensed it to the company. I just let you use it." The lawyers exchanged glances. "So if you were to leave?" I nodded. "The system would go with me. And your regional operations would collapse overnight." Then I showed them the financial records I'd uncovered. "There's also the matter of how Marcus has been using company funds." I pulled up expense reports. For the past 8 months, he's been approving consulting fees for Tiffany. But when you look at what those fees actually covered, I displayed receipt after receipt. 5-star restaurant dinners, luxury hotel stays, spa treatments. None of it related to actual business consulting. The CEO's face darkened. "How much?" I did the math in real time. Approximately $47,000 in fraudulent expenses. The head of HR made notes furiously. Reginald looked disgusted. "Were they in a relationship?" Shrugged. "I can't confirm that. I can only confirm that he was using company money to fund her lifestyle, and then promoted her to a position she wasn't qualified for." One of the lawyers spoke up. "This is grounds for immediate termination. For both of them." An hour later, Marcus was called into the boardroom. I'd been asked to wait in an adjacent room, but through the glass wall I could see everything. Marcus walked in confidently, probably expecting to be praised for his leadership. Then he saw me sitting at the head of the table next to the CEO. His face turned ash gray. All the color drained from his skin. His briefcase slipped from his hand. What's going on?" Zoe gestured to an empty chair. "Sit down, Marcus. We need to discuss some serious discrepancies in your management." Marcus's eyes darted between me and the executives. He was finally understanding that he'd walked into a trap. That his secret weapon had become his worst nightmare. Tiffany was brought in moments later. Her confident expression crumbled when she saw the setup. They sat across from me like defendants at trial. And in a way, that's exactly what they were. Marcus tried to deflect immediately. I don't know what she's told you, but Lydia has been sabotaging Tiffany from day one. She's been deliberately undermining our operations because she was passed over for promotion. The CEO held up his hand. We have documentation that contradicts that narrative, Marcus. Reginald spoke next. We have system logs proving Ms. Lydia has been the primary operator maintaining your region's efficiency. We also have the original reports she authored that you attributed to Ms. Clark. Marcus sputtered. She's bitter and vindictive. The CEO pressed a button on the conference table. A recording played. Tiffany's voice from last month. Lydia called asking if I needed help with the Vanguard account. I told her to stay in her lane and stop trying to make me look bad. Then Tiffany laughing. Then Marcus's voice. Good. Keep her in her place. The recording stopped. Marcus looked sick. They'd recorded themselves mocking me while I was trying to help. The head of legal cleared his throat. Here's the situation. Our analysis shows that if Ms. Lydia were to leave and take her proprietary software systems with her, the regional operations would collapse within a week. Every efficiency gain you've claimed credit for would evaporate. He looked directly at Marcus. Your region would go from the most profitable to the least profitable overnight. The CEO added, we also can't ignore that Ms. Lydia created this intellectual property independently. If she chose to, she could license it to our competitors. Or sue us for unauthorized use. Marcus tried one more time. You can't possibly believe we'd fall apart without one coordinator. Reginald pulled out a document. We already tested it. Last week, when Lydia stopped doing extra work, your error rate increased by 300%. Client complaints tripled. You've been coasting on her competence for years, Marcus. And now the bill is due. The CEO stood up. Marcus, you're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Tiffany, the same applies to you. Tiffany started crying. But I didn't know. The head of HR cut her off. You accepted a position you weren't qualified for and allowed someone else's work to be credited to you. That's enough. They were both led out by security. Sat there numb. It had actually happened. Then the CEO turned to me. Ms. Lydia, we'd like to offer you Marcus's position as Regional Operations Manager. We're prepared to offer a 40% salary increase, full benefits, and back pay for the theft of your intellectual property. Reginald added, we're also prepared to formally license your software systems at a rate we think you'll find very fair. They slid a contract across the table. The numbers were staggering. Everything I'd worked for, finally recognized, finally valued. I left Chicago with the contract and signed, asking for a week to consider. I flew home and went straight to the office. Marcus was there, packing his things into a cardboard box. Security stood nearby, making sure he didn't take anything that wasn't his. He saw me and his eyes got desperate. Lydia, please. Talk to them. Tell them I was just trying to protect the company's image. Tell them I deserve another chance. I stopped and looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd called me an engine. Who'd told me I belonged in the trenches. Who'd stolen my work and given it to someone else. You want me to vouch for you? He nodded frantically. I have a pension. Kids in college. I need this job. I thought about all the times I'd saved him. All the times I'd stayed quiet. Sorry, Marcus. I'm too busy in the trenches. I walked away while he called after me, begging. I didn't look back. I didn't take the job. Instead, I negotiated something better. I licensed my software systems to the company for a 7-figure sum. I signed a consulting agreement that paid me 3 times my old salary to provide strategic guidance. From home, on my own schedule. I started my own consulting firm specializing in operations efficiency. My first client was the company that had passed me over, now paying premium rates for my expertise. Within 6 months, I had 5 other clients. Within a year, I had a team of 12 people working with me. I built something that was entirely mine. No more invisible work. No more stolen credit. My name was on everything now. I stood on the balcony of my new office, looking out at the city. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably still looking for work. Tiffany was probably still trying to explain the gap in her resume. But I wasn't thinking about them anymore. I was too busy building my own empire. The engine had finally escaped the hood. And it turned out I didn't need them at all. They'd always needed me.